When changing or tweaking any comp system, one key question has to be asked regularly, and often. What are the possible unintended consequences? This is vital, important point number one before proceeding. And there's two of them. I've got another one in just a second. But you don't just go cruising into any comp system change, even the most modest of tweaks, and say, all right, what's going to happen? Because, you've got a bunch of people out there who are really smart, and they'll look at this, convert this into, how does this impact my system? Well, I used to do this, now I'll do this. And I hate to say it, but there are partners out there who will game the system. And it happens regularly, it happens often. I don't think that they're always, doing this with ill intention, but it happens. But also, if we de-emphasize this, thinking that we'll emphasize this, but we accidentally emphasize this, then what happens? Dealing with partner comp systems is a little like squeezing a balloon. You squeeze it here to solve something, but something else happens somewhere in there. And a key vital part of the process is always, what are the unintended consequences of what we're about to do? And even the most minor change has to be evaluated carefully, very carefully. Otherwise, you'll get into a cycle later on of constantly fixing things and putting little bandages on it. And then, there will be more unintended consequences, and it sort of becomes a running joke. Vitally important point number two. Got a chart here on the changing mechanics and structural details of comp systems. Your choices here are essential for success. But this is the second rail that I was talking about. This is the change management piece. This is it's not just enough to come up with a brilliant plan. You've got to sell it, and you've got to pre-sell it, and you've got to get it to a point to where when you ultimately bring this to the partnership for an official vote, it's a non-event. And the partners are going, of course, yes, everybody say aye, can we please open the bar and relax? But if the presentation of a compensation change, particularly if it's a big change, results in, a lot of information being presented right before a vote or at the vote, that's a really dangerous situation because you can't lose that vote. But also when you speak to the partners individually, you can see their reactions and you can ask them, what could go wrong with this? And you could use them to help you test point number one, what are the unintended consequences of this? So as you look at everything that comes along next or start thinking about your system, please remember these 2 points. What are the unintended consequences and how do we sell it? We can't undersell anything. So step one, determine if any changes are needed. As you've heard me speak about all this stuff through our time together, I've sort of raised the red flags and figured out, what is out there. And here's a little roadmap. If you're convinced that any new variances and relative contributions due to COVID will not create internal challenges and the fundamentals of your system are sound for the long term, then you probably don't need to do anything. But if you don't do that, an equally wise move is to tell everybody that you evaluated this and you chose not to do anything, because there is always the goodwill between leadership and the partners of letting them know that you've got this. These are scary times. These are times filled with a lot of uncertainty. And even if nothing changes, which from a lawyer's precedential thinking perspective is always a good outcome, even if nothing changes, they will have more confidence in leadership and more understanding and just feel better about the whole situation if they know that you looked at it and you analyzed it carefully and you decided to not do anything. And here's why we decided not to do anything. And here's what we evaluated along the way. Very smart move.